Elena Rodriguez pressed her face against the cold metal wall of the mining station. Through the thick glass window, she could see the endless black of space. Stars twinkled like tiny diamonds against the dark. She had been staring at them for almost an hour now, thinking about home. Home was Earth, or what used to be Earth. Everyone in the galaxy knew the story. 50 years ago, the humans had fought a war against the Krex Empire. The humans lost. The Krex and their alien friends bombed Earth until nothing lived there anymore. The blue oceans turned gray. The green forests became ash. Every human city was destroyed. Elena touched the small device hidden under her shirt. It was a genetic scrambler that made her look like an Altarian to alien scanners. She had light blue skin and silver hair, just like any other Altarian worker. But underneath, she was still human. One of the last humans in the galaxy. The mining station was quiet today. Most of the alien workers were sleeping or eating in the main hall. Elena worked the night shift in the communications room. It was a boring job, but it gave her access to deep space signals. Sometimes she could pick up messages from other hidden humans scattered across the stars. Tonight was different. Her equipment started beeping with an incoming signal. Elena checked the frequency. Her heart stopped. This was an old Earth military channel. Nobody had used these frequencies since the war ended. She put on her headphones and listened. The signal was weak and full of static, but she could hear it clearly. A human voice spoke in code words that Elena remembered from her childhood. Her father had been a farmer before the war. He taught her the old agricultural codes when she was young. The garden grows again. Harvest approaches. Elena's hands shook as she wrote down the message. In farming code, this meant something very different. The garden was Earth. If the garden was growing again, that meant Earth was not dead. And if harvest was approaching, that meant someone was planning something big. She quickly sent a message to Jake Morrison. Jake flew a small cargo ship called the New Horizon. He delivered supplies to hidden human settlements across the galaxy. If anyone would know what this message meant, it would be Jake. Elena sent the coded message through a secure channel. Then, she waited. Hours passed slowly. Finally, her communicator buzzed with Jake's reply. Meet me at the usual place. Emergency protocol. Elena knew what that meant. She had to leave the mining station immediately. Something big was happening and she needed to get to safety. She packed her few belongings into a small bag and deleted all traces of her work from the computer systems. The usual place was an old fuel depot near Jupiter. Jake's ship was already waiting when Elena arrived in a stolen shuttle. The New Horizon looked like any other cargo ship, but Elena knew it had hidden weapons and armor plating. Jake met her at the airlock. He was a tall man with brown hair and worried eyes. Elena, we have a problem, he said as they walked through the ship's corridors. The aliens are planning a big mining operation in the asteroid belt. They want to strip mine the whole area. Elena felt cold fear in her stomach. The hidden bases? All of them. Titan Station, the shipyards around Ceres, the research facilities on Europa. If the aliens start major mining operations, they'll find everything. Titan Station was the largest hidden human settlement. Almost 8,000 humans lived there, hidden inside Saturn's moon. Lisa Park ran the station like a small city. She had been working for decades to keep the human survivors safe and hidden. How long do we have? Elena asked. 3 weeks? Maybe 4. Lisa needs to know about this, and she needs to know about your message from Earth. Jake's ship jumped to hyperspace, heading toward Saturn. Elena sat in the passenger seat and watched the stars stretch into long white lines. She thought about the message she had received. The garden grows again. What did it really mean? As they traveled, Jake told her more about the human settlements. There were dozens of them scattered across the galaxy. Most were small groups of a few hundred people, but some were larger. Titan Station was the biggest, but there were others. A research station hidden in a nebula near Alpha Centauri. A farming colony on a planet the aliens thought was uninhabitable. A military base built inside a hollow asteroid. How many humans are left? Elena asked. Jake was quiet for a long moment. More than the aliens think. Much more. What do you mean? Elena, there are things about the war that most people don't know. Things that were kept secret even from us. Before Elena could ask more questions, they arrived at Saturn. The giant planet filled their view screen, its rings spinning slowly around it. Titan looked like a small orange moon, but Elena knew that beneath its frozen surface was a thriving human city. Jake docked his ship at a hidden port built into Titan's south pole. Security guards met them at the airlock. They escorted Elena, and Jake through long tunnels carved into the ice. After 20 minutes of walking, they reached the main city. Elena gasped when she saw it. The underground city was huge. Buildings stretched up toward an artificial sky that glowed with warm light. People walked on the streets below. Children played in parks. It looked like a normal human city, except it was built inside a moon. Lisa Park met them at the city center. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been running Titan Station since the end of the war. Everyone respected her and many feared her too. Elena, I'm glad you're safe, Lisa said. Tell me about this message you received. Elena repeated the coded transmission. Lisa listened carefully, her face showing no emotion. When Elena finished, Lisa was quiet for a long time. Jake, send a priority message to all station commanders. Tell them to prepare for evacuation protocols. And send a coded message to Luna Base. Elena had never heard of Luna Base. What's Luna Base? Lisa looked at Jake, then back at Elena. Luna Base is humanity's best-kept secret. It's built inside Earth's moon, and the people there have been very busy for the last 50 years. But Earth is dead. Everyone knows that. Is it? Lisa asked. Elena, what would you do if you wanted to rebuild your entire civilization without anyone knowing about it? What would be the first thing you would do? Elena thought about it. I would make everyone think I was dead. Lisa smiled. Exactly. The garden grows again, Elena, and I think it's time for the harvest. That night, Elena stood on an observation deck and looked out at Saturn's rings. Somewhere out there, alien mining fleets were preparing to invade the Sol system. They thought they would find nothing but empty space and dead rocks. But Elena now knew the truth. Humanity was not extinct. They had been hiding, growing, preparing. And soon, the galaxy would learn that humans were much harder to kill than anyone had imagined. In the distance, she could see other ships moving among Saturn's moons. Human ships, with human crews, carrying human technology that had been developed in secret for 50 years. The aliens thought the war was over. Elena smiled as she watched the ships disappear into hyperspace, heading toward Earth. The aliens were wrong. The war was just beginning. The message had been clear. The garden grows again. Harvest approaches. And Elena was starting to understand what that really meant. Humanity was coming home. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, Admiral Alex Carter stood in front of a massive display screen. The screen showed the entire solar system. Red dots marked alien ships moving toward the asteroid belt. Blue dots showed human ships hiding, in the shadows, waiting. Carter was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his hands from the old war. He had been fighting aliens for most of his life, first on the surface during the Great Bombardment, then in the secret tunnels and bases that humanity had built afterward. Dr. Maria Santos walked up beside him. She was the chief engineer of Project Lazarus, humanity's most important secret program. For 50 years, she had been working to rebuild human technology and make it better than anything the aliens possessed. Admiral, the quantum fold drives are ready, Maria said. All ships can jump instantly to any point in the solar system. The aliens won't even see us coming. Carter nodded. What about the new weapons? The dark matter cannons are fully charged. We've tested them on old asteroids. One shot can destroy anything the aliens have ever built. Carter smiled grimly. The aliens thought they were advanced. They had faster-than-light travel and energy weapons. But they had never learned to weaponize dark matter. Humans had figured, It out 15 years ago. Above them, hidden in the moon's core, was Luna Base. It was the largest human facility in the solar system. Thousands of people lived and worked there. Engineers, soldiers, scientists, and their families. They had all dedicated their lives to preparing for this day. Carter's communicator buzzed. "Admiral, we're getting reports from the asteroid belt. Alien mining ships are approaching Sector 7. Sector 7 contained 3 hidden human bases. If the aliens found them, the secret would be out." But Carter was not worried. He had been planning for this moment for decades. "Send Captain Ryan Hayes," Carter ordered. "Tell him to take the Ghost Protocol and watch the aliens. Don't engage unless they get too close to our facilities." The Ghost Protocol was humanity's newest stealth ship. It could become completely invisible to alien sensors. Captain Hayes was one of their best pilots, young and aggressive but smart enough to follow orders. Ryan Hayes received his orders while his ship was docked inside Ceres, the largest asteroid in the belt. The asteroid looked empty from the outside, but inside it was hollow. Human engineers had carved out enormous spaces for shipyards and military bases. Ryan's crew was small but experienced. His second in command was Lieutenant Kate Wilson, a former mining engineer who knew the asteroid belt better than anyone. His weapons officer was Sergeant Mike Torres, who had been fighting aliens since he was 18 years old. "All right, people," Ryan said as his ship undocked from Ceres. "We're going to shadow the alien fleet. Watch them, record everything, but stay hidden. We need to know what they're capable of before we make our move." The Ghost Protocol slipped silently through the asteroid field. Its hull was covered with stealth technology that bent light around the ship, making it invisible. Its engines produced no heat signature. To alien sensors, it simply did not exist. They found the alien fleet 3 hours later. 12 ships, led by a large command vessel. Ryan recognized the design. Velikan coalition ships, probably commanded by someone important. The aliens were taking this mining operation seriously. "Lieutenant Wilson, how close are they to Base 7? Kate checked her instruments. "About 6 hours at their current speed. But Admiral, they're scanning everything. Their sensors are much better than we expected." Ryan felt a chill. If the alien sensors were improved, they might detect the hidden bases even through the stealth fields. He needed to warn Luna Base immediately. Meanwhile, on the alien command ship, Commander Zarath studied the sensor readings with growing confusion. She was a veteran of many space battles, and she had learned to trust her instincts. Something was wrong in this asteroid field. "Navigation officer, are you certain these readings are correct?" she asked. The young officer checked his instruments again. "Yes, Commander. We're detecting unusual gravitational fields and heat signatures. But when we focus our scanners on specific locations, there's nothing there." Zarath had fought humans during the war 50 years ago. She remembered how clever they could be, how they could hide in places where no one expected them. "Continue scanning and send out probe drones. I want to know what's out there." One of the probe drones approached an asteroid that looked completely normal. But as it got closer, its instruments detected something impossible. The asteroid was hollow, and there were massive metal structures inside it. The probe transmitted its data back to the command ship, then suddenly exploded. Something had destroyed it with a weapon that the ship's sensors could not even detect. "Commander," the weapons officer shouted. "Probe 7 has been destroyed. Unknown weapon type, fired from inside asteroid 47B. Zarath stared at the sensor display. The asteroid looked completely empty, but something inside it had just destroyed one of their drones. She had 2 choices: investigate further, or retreat and call for reinforcements. She decided to investigate. It was a mistake that would change everything. Back on Luna Base, Admiral Carter received Ryan's urgent transmission. The aliens had found one of the hidden bases and they were moving to investigate. It was time to activate the next phase of the plan. "Dr. Santos, prepare the fleet for emergence. All ships, all bases. It's time to stop hiding." Maria's fingers flew over her control panel. Across the solar system, hidden facilities received the emergence order. Stealth fields began shutting down. Asteroid bases revealed their true nature. Ships that had been hiding in the shadows powered up their engines. Carter opened a communication channel to President Sophie Clark, who was in the underground capital of New Geneva on Earth. "Madam President, the aliens have found us, requesting permission to initiate Protocol Genesis." Sophie Clark had been leading the hidden human government for 20 years. She was a tough woman who had grown up in the underground cities after Earth's bombardment. She had always known this day would come. "Permission granted, Admiral. Bring our children home." Carter turned to his staff. "Send the message to all human settlements. The harvest begins now. All ships return to Sol. All bases prepare for revealed operations. And someone get me a line to Commander Zarath." Above Luna Base, a communication array emerged from the moon's surface. It had been hidden for 50 years, but now it began broadcasting on alien frequencies. Commander Zarath was ordering her ships to surround asteroid 47B when her communications officer interrupted her. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Sol system. It's coming from Earth's moon." "That's impossible. The moon is dead rock." "The signal is strong and clear, Commander. Someone wants to talk to you." Zarath took the transmission in her private cabin. The screen showed a human man in military uniform. She recognized the insignia from the old war. This was a human admiral. "Commander Zarath," the human said. "My name is Admiral Carter of the Terran Sol Defense Force. I believe we need to have a conversation." Zarath stared at the screen in shock. The Terran Sol Defense Force had been destroyed 50 years ago. This human should not exist. Earth should not have any defense forces. "You're dead," she whispered. "All of you. We saw Earth burn." Carter smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "Reports of our death have been greatly exaggerated, Commander. Now I suggest you stop shooting at our bases before someone gets hurt." Around asteroid 47B, the space began to shimmer and twist. The stealth fields were dropping, revealing the true nature of the asteroid. It was not a rock at all. It was a massive space station, bristling with weapons and defensive systems. And it was not alone. All around Zarath's fleet, more asteroids began revealing their true nature. Weapon platforms, shipyards, military bases. The entire asteroid belt was not a collection of rocks. It was humanity's fortress. Zarath realized with growing horror that her small fleet was surrounded by human installations that could destroy her ships in seconds. She was trapped in the middle of the most heavily defended system in the galaxy. And until 5 minutes ago, she had thought humans were extinct. The emergency session on Galactic Prime was loud and chaotic. Representatives from 12 alien species shouted at each other in the Great Council chamber. High Counselor Vextar of the Saurian Empire slammed his clawed hand on the podium to "Restore order! Silence!" Vextar roared. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Commander Zarath will now report on the situation in the Sol system." Zarath stood at the center of the chamber. She looked tired and shaken. Her uniform was wrinkled and her hands trembled slightly as she activated the holographic display. "Honorable counselors," she began, "I regret to inform you that our previous intelligence about the Sol system was completely wrong. The humans are not extinct. They have been hiding in that system for 50 years, building weapons and ships." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some counselors refused to believe her report. Others demanded immediate military action. Zarath raised her voice to continue. "The entire asteroid belt has been converted into a military fortress. There are weapons platforms, shipyards, and bases hidden inside what we thought were ordinary rocks. The humans have technology that is far beyond anything we possess." Ambassador Cathara of the Krex Empire stood up slowly. She was old, one of the few beings in the chamber who had actually fought humans during the war 50 years ago. Her scales were gray with age, but her eyes were still sharp. "Young beings," Cathara said in her ancient voice, "you do not understand what you are facing. I fought the humans during the Great War. Even then, when they were weak and divided, they adapted to our tactics faster than any species I have ever encountered. If they have had 50 years to prepare." She let the sentence hang in the air. The chamber fell silent. Meanwhile, deep beneath the surface of Earth, President Sophie Clark walked through the restored underground city of New Geneva. The corridors were filled with busy people preparing for the greatest moment in human history since the bombardment. The underground cities were marvels of engineering and determination. When the aliens had bombed Earth's surface, the survivors had dug deep. They built new cities in caverns and tunnels that stretched for thousands of miles beneath the continents. New Geneva was built under the Swiss Alps. New York was reconstructed beneath Manhattan. London existed in vast chambers under the Thames River. Tokyo sprawled through caverns beneath Mount Fuji, all connected by magnetic trains that could travel from one continent to another in hours. Sophie stopped at a viewing window that looked out over the main plaza of New Geneva. Children played in parks under artificial sunlight. Adults hurried to work in laboratories and factories. Everyone knew that today was the day they had been preparing for all their lives. Dr. Ken Rodriguez met Sophie at the government building. He was Elena's brother and the chief of xenobiology for the Sol Defense Force. For decades, he had been studying alien technology and biology, looking for weaknesses that humans could exploit. "Madam President," Ken said, "our analysis of the captured alien crew is complete. Their technology has barely advanced in 50 years. They have grown comfortable and lazy. Meanwhile, our technology has progressed far beyond what they thought possible." Sophie nodded. "What about their military capabilities?" "Their ships are larger than ours, but they rely on brute force rather than innovation. Their weapons are powerful but inefficient. Their tactics are predictable. We have run thousands of simulations, and in every scenario, human forces achieve victory with minimal losses. On the surface of Earth, the illusion of death was carefully maintained. The oceans were still gray from orbital bombardment debris. The continents were scarred and apparently lifeless. But beneath the surface, massive elevator systems and hidden launch bays waited for the signal to reveal Earth's true nature. Mars told a different story. The red planet looked empty to alien sensors, but it was actually humanity's primary military training facility. Colonel Danny Thompson led his Alpha Squad through final combat exercises in the Martian highlands. "Remember," Danny told his soldiers, "the aliens think like conquerors. They expect us to be weak and desperate. They expect us to fight like we did 50 years ago. Instead, we're going to show them what 50 years of preparation looks like." The soldiers under Danny's command were the best humanity had ever produced. They had been born and raised for war. They knew alien tactics better than the aliens did. They had trained with weapons and equipment that the aliens could not even imagine. Above Mars, hidden shipyards orbited in the planet's shadow. Thousands of human ships waited there, ready to emerge when the signal came. Each ship was equipped with quantum fold drives that could move them instantly across the solar system. Each ship carried weapons that could destroy alien vessels with a single shot. Back in the asteroid belt, Captain Jake Morrison received new orders from Admiral Carter. His cargo ship, the New Horizon, had been specially modified for a dangerous mission. He was going to meet with Commander Zarath face to face. Jake's ship approached Zarath's command vessel slowly, its hands raised in the universal gesture of peaceful intent. But Jake knew that dozens of human weapon platforms were tracking the alien ship, ready to destroy it if anything went wrong. The meeting took place in neutral space, halfway between Zarath's ship and the revealed human base. Jake arrived in a small shuttle, but he was not alone. Admiral Carter himself emerged from the shuttle, wearing his full military uniform. Zarath met them in her ship's main conference room. She studied Carter carefully, trying to understand how a species that should be extinct had produced such a confident military leader. "Admiral Carter," Zarath said, "I will be direct. The Coalition demands that all humans evacuate the Sol system immediately. This territory was claimed by right of conquest 50 years ago." Carter smiled calmly. "Commander, I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. You see, you never actually conquered the Sol system. You only conquered the surface of one planet. We've been here the entire time. Your species was declared extinct. Your military was destroyed. Your cities were reduced to ash. Some of our cities were damaged, yes, but we rebuilt them better than before. As for our military..." Carter gestured toward the viewing port, where human ships could be seen moving, in perfect formation around Zarath's vessel. I think you can see that reports of our military's destruction were somewhat premature. Zareth tried to contact her fleet command, but discovered that her communications were being jammed by technology her crew could not identify or counter. Carter explained that humans had been monitoring all alien communications for decades. They knew everything about current alien military positions, political structures, and territorial disputes. You want a demonstration of our current capabilities? Carter said. It was not a question. At Carter's signal, space around them began to shimmer and bend. A human ship decloaked directly beside Zareth's flagship. The vessel was sleek and predatory, covered in smooth armor that seemed to absorb light. Zareth's sensors screamed warnings as they tried and failed to analyze the human ship's composition and armament. Captain Nicole Foster of the heavy cruiser Earth's Vengeance opened a communication channel. Commander Zareth, would you like a tour? I think you should see what 50 years of human engineering looks like. Against her better judgment, Zareth agreed. What she saw aboard the human ship terrified her. The corridors hummed with power from sources her science could not identify. The artificial gravity worked without any rotating sections. The crew moved with military precision that spoke of constant readiness and advanced training. The ship's bridge was a marvel of integrated technology. Holographic displays showed real-time information from across the entire solar system. Weapons controls that could target and destroy multiple ships simultaneously. Navigation systems that could move the ship instantly to any location. How many ships do you have? Zareth finally asked the question that had been haunting her. Carter's expression became predatory. Commander, you're looking at one patrol vessel assigned to asteroid belt security. Would you like to see our actual fleet? Before Zareth could respond, space around them filled with ships. Dozens of vessels decloaked simultaneously. Sleek frigates, massive cruisers, enormous dreadnoughts, all moving in perfect formation, all armed with weapons that Zareth's instruments could not even classify. But this was still not humanity's main fleet. These were just the ships assigned to protect the inner system. The real fleet was still hidden, waiting for the order to emerge. Zareth realized with growing horror that the coalition had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed that 50 years of isolation had weakened humanity. Instead, 50 years of focused preparation had created something far more dangerous than the humans who had fought in the original war. What do you want? She whispered. Carter's smile was cold as space itself. Commander, we want our colonies back. We want recognition as a sovereign species. We want reparations for 50 years of exile, and we want guarantees that this will never happen again. And if the coalition refuses? Carter gestured toward the human fleet surrounding them. Then we'll take what we want by force. And Commander, after 50 years of preparation, we're very good at taking things by force. As Zareth returned to her ship, she knew that everything had changed. Admiral Korak of the Hegemony Navy stared at the tactical display aboard his flagship, the massive battleship Eternal Conquest. 800 alien ships stretched out in battle formation, the largest fleet assembled since the human war 50 years ago. Korak was a veteran of that war. He had been a young captain then, serving under the commanders who had bombarded Earth into apparent lifelessness. Now he was an admiral, called upon to finish what they had started. Communications, Korak ordered. Broadcast on all frequencies. I want every human in that system to hear this message. The message went out across the Sol system on every channel the aliens could access. Korak's voice was deep and threatening, designed to inspire fear in anyone who heard it. Human terrorists hiding in the Sol system. You have 6 hours to evacuate completely or face total extermination. We know you have a few hidden bases and stolen ships. Surrender now, and you will be allowed to live as refugees in designated camps. Resist, and we will finish what we started 50 years ago. The message reached every human facility in the system. On Luna Base, Admiral Carter listened to it with his senior staff. Around the conference table sat the men and women who had spent their entire adult lives preparing for this moment. Well, Carter said calmly, I think that answers any questions about alien intentions. Dr. Santos, please activate Protocol Genesis. Dr. Maria Santos had been waiting 50 years for this order. Her fingers moved across her control panel, sending coded signals to every hidden facility in the solar system. Across millions of miles of space, humanity's true nature began to reveal itself. President Sophie Clark stood in the command center beneath New Geneva, watching as reports flooded in from across Earth. Hidden elevator systems began rising from beneath the planet's surface. Launch bays concealed under fake crater scars started opening. The planet that had appeared dead for 50 years began to come alive. Madam President, her aide reported, all surface installations are active. The orbital defense grid is online. Earth Defense Command reports ready for full revelation. Sophie nodded. She opened a communication channel to every human in the system. My fellow humans, today we return to the stars. Today we show the galaxy that humanity cannot be destroyed. Today we take back our rightful place among the worlds. On the alien flagship, Korak's sensor officer suddenly spoke up with confusion in his voice. Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout the Sol system. Something is happening. Korak moved to the sensor station and stared at the display in disbelief. The entire asteroid belt was lighting up like a Christmas tree. Energy. Signatures appeared where there should have been empty space. Ships were emerging from what had appeared to be ordinary rocks. How many ships? Korak demanded. Sir, I'm counting. This can't be right. Over 2,000 contacts and still rising. They're appearing everywhere. But the ships were only the beginning. Jupiter's moons began revealing hidden installations. Saturn's rings opened to show massive orbital shipyards. Even tiny Pluto showed signs of human activity. And then Earth itself began to change. The gray, dead planet that everyone had seen for 50 years started showing its true colors. The surface that had appeared lifeless began opening in thousands of places. Massive structures rose from beneath fake crater scars. The oceans, cloudy with debris for decades, suddenly cleared to show their true blue color. Orbital stations appeared around Earth like flowers blooming in spring. Defensive platforms that had been hidden by stealth technology for 50 years suddenly became visible. Earth was not just alive, it was the most heavily fortified planet in the galaxy. Captain Danny Thompson received his orders while standing on the surface of Mars with Alpha Squad. Above them, the red planet's sky began to change as massive ships rose from hidden underground hangars. All right, people, Danny told his soldiers. This is what we trained for. The aliens think they're fighting the same humans they defeated 50 years ago. Let's show them what 50 years of evolution looks like. Mars itself began to move. The entire planet was revealed to be a mobile fortress, equipped with engines that could move it anywhere in the solar system. It was humanity's ultimate weapon, a planet-sized battleship that had been disguised as a normal world for decades. Back on the alien flagship, panic was beginning to set in. Korak's fleet of 800 ships suddenly seemed very small compared to the thousands of human vessels that were appearing throughout the system. Sir, his tactical officer reported with a shaking voice. Long-range sensors are detecting massive ships emerging from the outer system. Some of them are larger than our entire fleet. Korak stared at the tactical display as it updated with new contacts. Human ships were emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system. Not just small patrol vessels, but massive dreadnoughts and battle cruisers that dwarfed anything in the alien fleet. Get me Admiral Carter, Korak ordered. I want to talk to whoever is in charge of this madness. Carter appeared on the communication screen, standing on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Terra Reborn. Behind him, human officers worked at stations filled with technology that Korak could not even identify. Admiral Korak, Carter said pleasantly. We received your ultimatum. I'm afraid we'll have to decline your generous offer. You're outnumbered, Korak said, though he was no longer sure that was true. My fleet contains the finest ships in the galaxy. Your fleet, Carter replied, represents 50-year-old technology operated by crews who have never faced serious opposition. My fleet represents 50 years of focused development, operated by people who have trained their entire lives for this moment. As if to demonstrate his point, Carter gestured toward his tactical display. You see, Admiral, while your people were enjoying peace and prosperity, we were learning everything we could about your technology, your tactics, and your weaknesses. We know how your ships fight. We know how your crews think. We've run 10,000 simulations of this exact battle. Korak felt a chill of fear run down his spine. You're bluffing. Am I? Would you like a demonstration? Carter gave a signal, and space around Korak's fleet suddenly filled with human ships, not hundreds but thousands. They had emerged from hyperspace with perfect precision, surrounding the alien fleet in a formation that cut off every escape route. The human ships moved like a school of fish, each vessel perfectly coordinated with every other. Their formation was so precise, so calculated that it looked like a work of art. But it was not art. It was the product of 50 years of tactical development. Admiral, Carter continued, you came here to finish what you started 50 years ago, but you made one critical error. You assumed that we would still be the same species you defeated before. The largest human ship, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even Korak's flagship, moved into position directly in front of the alien fleet. Its hull was smooth and dark, covered with armor that seemed to absorb energy rather than reflect it. We are not the same species, Carter said. 50 years of isolation, 50 years of preparation, 50 years of focused evolution have made us into something new, something stronger, something that learned from defeat and became unstoppable. Captain Nicole Foster opened a channel from the Earth's vengeance. Admiral Korak, my weapons are targeted on your flagship. One shot from our main gun will destroy your ship completely. Your shields will not protect you. Your armor will not save you. Our weapons use principles of physics that your science has not yet discovered. Korak looked at his own tactical display. His weapons officer reported that their targeting systems could not lock onto the human ships. Their sensors could not penetrate human armor. Their communications were being jammed by technology they could not understand or counter. What do you want? Korak asked, his voice barely a whisper. Carter smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. We want our colonies back. All of them. We want reparations for 50 years of exile. We want formal recognition of human sovereignty. And we want guarantees that this will never happen again. The Coalition will never agree to those terms. Then the Coalition will learn what happens when you try to exterminate a species that refuses to stay dead. Carter's image disappeared from the screen. Around Korak's fleet, the human ships began moving into attack formation. Their movements were precise, calculated, and absolutely terrifying. Korak realized that he had led his fleet into a trap. Not just a military trap, but a trap 50 years in the making. The humans had used their apparent extinction as camouflage while they transformed themselves into something the galaxy had never seen before. He thought about the message he would have to send back to Galactic Prime. How could he explain that the species they thought was extinct had become the most powerful force in the galaxy? But first, he had to survive the next few hours. And looking at the human fleet surrounding him, Korak was not sure that was possible. The harvest had begun, and humanity was reaping everything they had sown. The first shot of the new war came from Admiral Korak himself. Faced with impossible odds, he made the only choice his military training had taught him. He ordered his fleet to attack. All ships, open fire. Target the largest human vessels. Show these terrorists what galactic military power looks like. 800 alien ships opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams that could melt mountains lanced through space toward the human fleet. Missiles that could destroy cities streaked toward their targets. It was the most concentrated firepower ever assembled in one place. The weapons struck human shields and simply disappeared. Energy beams that should have cut through any known armor were absorbed without effect. Missiles that should have shattered. Hulls exploded harmlessly against defensive fields that the aliens could not even detect. Captain Danny Thompson watched the alien attack from the bridge of his assault ship, the New Earth. His crew worked calmly at their stations, completely unimpressed by the massive alien weapons firing at them. Shields holding at 100%, his engineer reported. The alien weapons aren't even registering on our defensive grid. Return fire. Danny ordered. Let's show them what 50 years of human engineering looks like. The human response was swift and devastating. Dark matter cannons fired beams of weaponized space itself. Quantum torpedoes that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously struck their targets. Gravity weapons that could crush a ship into a ball of metal reached out across the battlefield. In 30 seconds, 47 alien ships simply ceased to exist. They did not explode or break apart. They were there one moment and gone the next, erased by weapons that violated everything the aliens thought they knew about physics. On the alien flagship, chaos erupted. Officers shouted damage reports and system failures. The ship's defensive screens flickered and died under the assault of human weapons that their technology could not even comprehend. "Admiral!" Korak's tactical officer screamed. "We've lost contact with the 7th Fleet. The entire squadron just disappeared." Korak stared at his tactical display in horror. Half of his fleet was already gone, destroyed by weapons so advanced that his sensors could not even track them. The remaining ships were retreating in panic, but human vessels were everywhere, cutting off escape routes with surgical precision. Admiral Carter opened a communication channel to the fleeing alien ships. His voice was calm and professional, as if he was discussing the weather instead of the destruction of an entire fleet. "Alien vessels, this is Admiral Carter of the Terran Sol Defense Force. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately and you will be treated according to the galactic conventions of war. Continue fighting and you will be destroyed." Some alien ships surrendered immediately, their crews too terrified to continue fighting. Others tried to fight their way out of the trap, only to be destroyed by human weapons that struck with impossible accuracy and devastating effect. Captain Nicole Foster of the Earth's Vengeance cornered a group of alien destroyers near Jupiter. The alien ships were fast and maneuverable, but Nicole's ship moved like a living thing, anticipating their every move and countering their tactics before they could implement them. "This is how we do it," Nicole told her crew as they destroyed the last alien destroyer with a single shot. 50 years of training, 50 years of preparation. They fight like conquerors. We fight like survivors. The battle for the Sol system lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the alien fleet of 800 ships had been reduced to 12 damaged vessels and their crews in lifeboats. The human fleet had not lost a single ship. Admiral Korak found himself a prisoner aboard the Terra Reborn, standing in Admiral Carter's office. The human admiral sat behind a desk made from earthwood, surrounded by pictures of the underground cities and hidden bases that had rebuilt human civilization. "Admiral Korak," Carter said, "you and your surviving crews will be returned to the Coalition as messengers. You will tell them what happened here today. You will tell them that humanity is back, and we are not the same species they defeated 50 years ago." Korak stared at the human admiral with a mixture of fear and respect. "What are your demands?" "Simple. We want our colonies back. All of them. We want reparations for 50 years of exile and suffering. We want formal recognition as a sovereign species with full rights in galactic society. And we want guarantees that this will never happen again. The Coalition will never agree." Carter smiled. "Admiral, in 6 months we have reclaimed 17 former human colonies and established bases in 30 star systems that never had human presence before. Our ships are faster than yours, our weapons are more powerful than yours, and our tactics are 50 years more advanced than yours. The Coalition will agree because they have no other choice." Carter was not lying. In the months following the Battle of Sol, human fleets had sprue.